Number 10. Number 10. Robert, the security guard, drew his gun, took a deep breath, headed down a shadowy corridor full of plastic cobwebs, fake blood and recorded screams. It was Robert's worst nightmare, a real-life killer on the loose in Cohan's haunted house. At least one person was dead, and behind any one of these doors might lie another victim, or worse, the killer waiting for another victim. He looks like the killer. Is that a machete he's got? So he's got a couple of fingers missing, huh? Someone, somewhere, turned off the sound system, switched on the emergency lights. Robert tried the door on the left, locked, then the one on the right. You could do this fucking fading out there. The one on the right. Unlocked. He pushed it open 2 inches and then hit something. Something that moaned. Robert looked down, saw more blood, real blood. An hour later, and the police has pieced together the basics. A total of 2 attacks and 1 murder. Jason Pierce, a 22-year-old employee, had been killed by an axe. Definitely not one of the prop axes, but a real weapon. Alicia Cohan had been luckier. She too was bleeding from an axe attack, but when Robert found her barely conscious behind the door, she was still alive. Okay, she died from an arm wound, from a gaping back. It changed. I had to read that as well. An hour later, the police had pieced together the basics. A total of 2 attacks and 1 murder. Jason Pierce, 22-year-old employee, had been killed by an axe. Definitely not one of the prop axes, but a real weapon. Alicia Cohan had been luckier. She too was bleeding from an axe attack. But when Robert found her barely conscious behind the door, she was still alive. It could have been worse, Sergeant Greeley told his captain. There were just a few employees in the haunted house. The attacker wasn't seen coming into the building, or leaving for that matter, but he was seen. Greeley checked his notepad. Medium height in a ghost costume, full head rubber mask. We found the costume, the mask, the axe, not far from the second attack scene. The lab matched the blood samples. Jason's blood, Alicia's blood. Attacker not seen entering or leaving. The captain had a way of honing in on the essentials. That's strange, given the limited access in that kind of attraction. Yes, sir, I'll interview the second victim, then talk to the others. Captain Greeley. Big Chinese man. Little blonde-haired man. Is that a doctor? Why does the captain look like a doctor? Alicia. The Chinese guy looks like a patrolman, and that guy looks like a doctor. Alicia sat up in hospital bed and spoke with effort. We were just opening up. Jason, Millie, Todd were changing into their costumes. Dad was there too. I turned on the sound system and the mood lights. Checking hall for garbage when I heard Todd shouting something about crazy person with an axe. A few seconds later, this came around the corner right away. I don't know why I ran in the dungeon. No other exit. This maniac pushed open the door, started swinging, fell to the floor. I passed out. Guess he dead. Cause next thing I know, security guard waking me up. Anyone else hurt? Alicia hasn't been told about boyfriend dead. Your boyfriend is dead. Ah. That's it. Have a good cry. Todd Wilkins seemed more concerned about Alicia than about the death of his best friend. She's gonna be alright, Greeley assured him. Just some cuts and bruises. You saw the attack on Jason. Part of it, said Todd. I was changing in my ghoul costume when I heard something. I went in the next room and there was Jason fighting off this guy in one of our ghost costumes. An old mask. The guy was swinging his axe and Jason tried to grab the axe and swing back. I tried to jump in, but the guy got lost. One last swing, ran off. I shouted a warning over, then went to help. Please, so it's this guy. It's this guy. Yes, it is him. That's why I'm looking. He looks a bit Chinese too. Millie Miller. In early 20s, short blonde hair, and athletic build, slightly taller than average, I was in the locker room downstairs, changing into my witch's uniform. I guess I heard some screaming, but I thought... tape. It was a tape. I didn't realise anything was wrong until I came upstairs. Sergeant Greeley nodded. Then changed subjects. I hear Alicia and Jason were engaged. Engaged? She wishes. Millie laughed, died in her throat. I shouldn't be mean. Jason and I were together for years, ever since middle school. Things were getting a little stale and too serious. All at the same time, Jason said we should see other people for a while, just to get out product of our systems. That's all Alicia was, a little experiment, he told her that. He was coming back to me. Next. Come on, Greeley. Stop looking at her tits. This was the third different story Greeley had heard. According to Alicia, they were happy. Jason already proposed. According to Todd, Alicia cried on his shoulder all the time. She was sick of Jason, ready to leave. And now Millie's variation on the old familiar theme. The sergeant caught up with Alicia's father at Cohen's haunted house. Curious throng stood by the police barricades in front of the boardwalk attraction. Thank God Alicia okay. Then he chuckled. I can't figure out if this was good business or bad. Are you the sole owner? Greeley asked. Alicia and I, said the sad-eyed middle-aged man. Alicia has an inheritance from her grandparents. I'm the trustee until she turns 30 or gets married. A chunk of her money went into Cohen's haunted house. It's a good investment for her. I'm guessing all the fucking chat they're doing about this Alicia bitch, she's the killer. Did you see or hear anything this morning? Anything at all? Cohen shook his head. Robert, the kids were all there when I unlocked the door. I locked up behind them, then went upstairs to the office. They often joked about a real killer getting loose in the haunted house. I'm not surprised. That ghost costume came from a storage closet, and the axe was the stairwell fire axe. Cohen sighed. It don't look like an outsider, does it? Sergeant Greeley agreed. It was an inside job, all right, and he had a good idea which insider it was. Who? Alicia, the one you keep blabbering on about? Who was it? What, the one with the non-fatal wound? Or the one with a big hole in her back? I'll go with non-fatal bitch, Alicia. That's why I guess. Alicia's unconscious body was too close to the door to allow the killer to exit. Millie was right about Jason's state of mind. He had been ready to dump Alicia and return to his old love. But Alicia wasn't ready to let go. That fucking ghost face mask. While the others changed clothes, Alicia grabbed the ghost costume, the mask, plus the axe from the stairwell. She attacked Jason, but he fought back, cutting and bruising her in the process. The only way that Alicia could explain away the injuries was to pretend to be a second victim. She discarded the axe and costume, then pretended to be unconscious. In the dungeon room, her one mistake, she lay down too close to the room's only door. If a real attacker had been in there, he would have had to move her body in order to squeeze out the door. Oh look, there she is. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I'll be out of jail in no time. My rich daddy will let me out of jail. He will bribe these wanker coppers and... well, who knows. Mr. UPS man. What were they going on? What? Let's look at the door. Fuck off. Oh look, her legs go right through the door. She's corporeal. Look. Through the door. Ah. He could lift her up. Look, pull the door. Her legs are going to bend back. Exit. Pull the door back. Her legs fall back down. Simple. Her bloody fucking legs go through the door and she's not blocking it. Look. Shitty picture.